Right. So Louie Simmons certainly doesn't need some bum like me to defend him. I've never set any records. Uh, don't have anything to write home about. It's not like I can sit here and be like, oh yeah, I used the Westside method and set a world record. I don't have any stories like that. Um, but I am open-minded. And it seems like the cool thing right now is for weightlifting coaches to post videos bashing Louie, why I wouldn't do Westside and why Westside's dumb and why Louie doesn't know what he's talking about, because if he knew what he was talking about, he would have produced a weightlifter by now. And well, none of you have produced a world-class weightlifter either. So, right. Guess we're all on equal footing. What I'm going to say here, this is just my opinion because I'm open-minded about these things. I feel like sometimes we're so, what's the word I want to use? Tribal. I see this with diets. People are like, oh, it's all keto or nothing. It's all carnivore or nothing. It's all vegan or nothing. And it's like, dude, like, dial back the intensity a little bit, okay? You're a little extreme. You're kind of freaking me out. Like, calm down. It's just food. And at the same time, we're like polarized on these things. Like, it's bad. Oh, don't eat any vegetables at all. Meat, it's bad for you. It's going to cause cancer. It's like, chill out. It's really not that severe a thing here that we're talking about. And there's probably a little more context to this, right? Eating pizza is considered eating red meat if it has pepperoni on it. But you're probably drinking, some Diet Coke. I'm joking. You're probably drinking high fructose corn syrup with your pizza. And there's a lot more to pizza than just whether or not it has pepperoni on it, right? But we see these studies and they're like, oh, yeah, well, if you eat meat, blah, 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 blah. Right, so if I eat my Big Mac with fries and a Coke, it's the red meat that caused the cancer. Sure. So I'm merely giving this as a comparison, okay? Because I'm going to say here that I think Louie might be wrong about a couple things. He points out, the squats of certain athletes and, oh, look, this guy over here squatted this much and that's why he was able to clean this much. And I don't think it's a perfect correlation there. I spent a lot of time pushing my squat up and it really didn't improve my clean or my snatch. So I don't think it's as simple as just like push your squat up, push your squat up, push your squat up, because it just doesn't pan out as well as you would think it would. It's like, oh, I put 50 pounds on my squat, and then it's like, yeah, and my clean went up by like 5 pounds. It's kind of disappointing. Spend a whole year, heavy back squatting, heavy back squatting, heavy back squatting, heavy back squatting. It's like, yeah, so my jerk didn't improve at all. Not that I wasn't doing jerks during that time. It's just that, like, the harder I pushed the squat, even as my squat increased, my jerk didn't improve. So certain things don't transfer as well as you might hope that they would. Now, that being said, Louie's right. That strength is the secret. Like, this isn't figure skating. This isn't gymnastics. Like, this isn't pole vault. The technique is not nearly... I'm not saying the technique isn't important. Technique is not nearly as important as some people would make it sound. They're like, oh, we have to be perfect. And it's like, not really. Like, the Bulgarians really didn't have great technique, but they were freaky strong. So with that in mind, I feel like maybe there's a middle ground between the two. Maybe we could learn something from powerlifters. Maybe you could try using bands and chains on the squat. Maybe you could try using bands and chains on your pulls. I don't see why not. I don't see why we shouldn't be doing deficit deadlifts and deficit pulls. I don't think that that's a problem. And I also don't think that box squats are a problem. And I don't think that using a variety of different bars is a problem. Stronger legs is stronger legs. I mean, really, like, you don't back squat in Olympic weightlifting. Like, there's no back squat involved in a clean or a snatch. So, like, who cares if you did safety bar squats? Stronger legs is stronger legs. If you did single leg squatting and then somehow that, made your legs significantly stronger, I bet your front squat would go up too. So, now you can recover from the clean easier, right? My point being is that rather than being so polarized or being like, oh, he doesn't know what he's talking about, clearly he does. Clearly he knows a thing or two about getting stronger. Maybe the thing isn't to throw it out entirely, but maybe learn a few pieces from it and take those really valuable pieces from it and incorporate those. So maybe do some deficit pulls, and maybe do deficit pulls with bands, and maybe do some deficit pulls with chains. And hey, why not include some variations on the squat? Like you could certainly front squat with bands and chains. You can back squat with bands and chains. Hell, I know a lot of people that are hardcore weightlifting and they're like, yo, it's high bar squat only. And it's like, well, kind of, but like maybe you could do both. Maybe it doesn't have to be low bar or high bar. Maybe you could do some low bar and then you could do some high bar. And maybe if you were really intelligent about your programming, you wouldn't just keep hammering the same pattern over and over and over again, because eventually you start developing overuse injuries and tendon issues. So maybe spend 4 weeks doing high bar, then spend 4 weeks doing low bar. I realize it's back squats and back squats, but the motor pattern is ever so slightly different, which actually takes a little bit of stress off your tendons. And I'll share something personal from my own kind of little like experimentation. I change shoes. So like I might squat in Nikes for like 4 weeks, and then I'll squat in my like Adidas. I have old ass shoes too. I only have the Nike Romaleo one, like the 08 ones. I'll squat in those for 4 weeks, and then I'll switch to like old ass 2004 Adastars for 4 weeks. That slight change in the heel height, that's all it takes for me to avoid having knee pain. But if I keep squatting in the same shoe over and over and over again, like my patellar tendon starts to get a little aggravated. My quad tendon starts to get a little aggravated. Sometimes I get some pain in my kneecap. But if I just change shoes, suddenly it goes away. I'm no rocket scientist, but gosh, the absence of pain seems like a good thing to me. I'm sure people will comment below and tell me why I'm wrong. It's good for you to be in pain. But if you're in so much pain that you're having a hard time squatting, like, I don't know, feels like that would kind of get in the way of you making progress. And then I'll switch to my old ass Pendlay Dewins. I have a pair of Dewins that even have Pendlay written on them. They're awesome. And I'll swap those shoes for a while. Like I will actually change shoes. And that's all it takes for me to get rid of any kind of joint pain. So maybe changing bars, or changing from high bar to low bar, or rotating front squat, high bar and low bar, and overhead squat. Like maybe that's not such a bad idea, Like maybe Louie has an idea here that maybe needs to be tweaked ever so slightly, but gosh, it sure seems to me like the guy might know a thing or two about squatting heavy. So instead of just discarding the whole thing and being like, you guys don't know what you're talking about, we're weightlifting, we're purists, we're elite. It's very elitist. And so I think perhaps I'm going to suggest something radical here, and it's a crazy concept. Maybe listen to people who are really good at squatting and try what they're doing to improve your squat. And then you could listen to people who have amazing ability to pull heavy things off the ground. Do some of that. It might actually work. So I don't see a reason for you to even choose conventional or sumo in your deadlift. There's no deadlift in weightlifting. So getting better at pulling heavy things off the ground is getting better at pulling heavy things off the ground. That's why you do snatch pulls and clean pulls as well. I feel like getting stronger is getting stronger, and I think that there's definitely some room for other strength movements besides just nothing but cleans and nothing but snatches. And there's my whole point. My whole point is perhaps we should be a little more open-minded, use all the tools that are available, try some different things. Hey, maybe it doesn't help this lifter, but it helps a different lifter. And in my opinion, I just feel like, hey, why not try incorporating some of these things? It's like the Bruce Lee thing, absorb what is useful and discard the rest. Yup.